Hello, my dear students of Terza A. I'm going to have a very quick revision about Geoffrey Chaucer and the Canterbury Tales because I have discovered that I can upload videos just lasting 10-15 minutes. Okay, so you can stop on the slides you are interested in, but I have to go, well, quite fast. I'm not going to stop on Chaucer's life because you've got everything in your book. I think we have already considered all this information together, if you can remember. So what you must remember absolutely is the fact that he worked for the court of King Edward III of England. This is very important because he took part in important diplomatic missions abroad. So he had the chance, the opportunity to come to to Italy and get in touch with the works of Dante, Petrarca, and Boccaccio, and especially Boccaccio's Decameron, influenced the framework of the Canterbury Tales. Why is Chaucer considered the father of English literature? Well, first of all, because he was one of the first English poets to be known by name and surname, while for other writers we don't have a precise name. And of course, because he used Middle English. Like Dante in Italy, he was the first to use the dialect of his native London, which gradually became standard English. So he is the father of the English literature because, and we can also say the English language, because he used English as um, as the means of literary works. And also because in his masterpiece, The Canterbury Tales, he was able to give a portrait of the English society of his time, all social classes, except, of course, the king and the poor. He had three periods, usually divided into the French, the Italian, the English period. But yes, I'm not going to stop here. Okay, you know these things, but you must remember that his masterpiece, The Canterbury Tales, was written in Middle English. What are the Canterbury Tales? It is a long narrative poem. It is told in verse. It contains a variety of narrative elements, the setting in time and place. So the time is spring, and well, I'm going to speak about this later. The place is London. Well, a journey from London to Canterbury, the description of character, and the use of a narrator who is the poet himself. It has links with the moral views of time. So, for example, corruption, cheating were, of course, condemned, and it gives insight into individual characters as regards lifestyle, psychology, and experiences. Structure. Well, it begins with a general prologue where the pilgrims are introduced by the poet, Geoffrey Chaucer. He speaks about the time which is spring, when people feel like they want to stay outside more, they want to go on pilgrimage, which was the only journey they could afford at the time. And he introduces also the pilgrims. There are only 24 tales because Chaucer didn't finish the work. Every tale is usually preceded by a prologue which introduces the theme of the tale. and sometimes it is followed by an epilogue. The story, where 30 people, including Chaucer himself as a narrator, meet at a tavern in London. They join a pilgrimage to Canterbury Cathedral and the shrine of Thomas Becket. I know everybody in your class remembers Thomas Becket. He was murdered. Yes, Lorenzo? Yes, I can hear your little voice. He was your soft voice, sorry. He was murdered by 4 knights, probably sent by King Henry II, probably not, because he didn't want to obey to the king's power. Anyway, let's go back to our story. The innkeeper suggests that every pilgrim should tell 2 stories on the way to Canterbury and 2 on the way back. The pilgrim who tells the best story will win a free dinner. Don't forget that this was a period of starvation, the plague, so the only thing people could dream of was food. The various tales are both religious and humorous, moral and satirical. The setting, well, the place of departure is London, which represents human and it is linked to worldly pleasures. The destination is Canterbury, which is the holy city and of course the symbol of the celestial city. So it is through the soul. So why a pilgrimage to Canterbury? Well, Canterbury Cathedral is the shrine of Thomas Becket, England's first martyr. Taking a pilgrimage was quite common in Chaucer's day. Well, it was the only journey people could think of. They couldn't go skiing on the Scottish mountains or to the seaside in Brighton, could they? People went on a pilgrimage to ask for healing or forgiveness of sin, but also to socialize and, why not, also to find a wife or a husband. The style. The poem is written in rhyming couplets, so A, A, B, B, made up of iambic pentameters. So this means that the lines are composed of 10 syllables. So there are 5 feet following the stress pattern, unstressed, stressed. What does it mean? Oh, this is so difficult. I can hear somebody. And well, this means that this syllable is not stress, but this is stress. So you should read like that. And bath every vein in such liquor. Yes, it may sound a bit weird and silly, but it is not. We are going to discover why it's not silly at all with William Shakespeare. But I can just tell you that this sort of going down, going up, going down, going up, going down, going up is just what our souls feel when we are down, unhappy, when we are up, very happy, when we are down, suffering something, when we are up, enjoying something. And so this is just, we can say, a written structure of what we live in our life. So don't forget, yes, I know you can remember the history of the English language. Don't forget that at the time, 3 languages were spoken in England. So the Normans influenced with the French, so the court spoke French, the church spoke Latin, and the population spoke Anglo-Saxon. By the time Chaucer wrote the Canterbury Tales, English had replaced French as the language of education in the local schools. English was becoming the language of government, and there was a growing demand for literary works in English. So Chaucer used a literary language shaped by French and Latin models, but built upon the old popular tradition and on a deep knowledge of actual speech. When he wrote this work, He was thinking about the people. Chaucer wanted to give a portrait of the English society. He introduced the characters in the general prologue. So he introduced the nun, the merchant, the doctor, and other pilgrims. He did not follow the social hierarchy of presentation of the time, and he mixed female and male characters to underline the growing importance women were assuming within the middle class. What's new? Well, the dynamic individualization, in antithesis with the conventional medieval character portrait, which was generally rather static. So we didn't stop much on morality and miracle plays, but probably somebody can remember that I just gave you a hint on the miracle and morality plays and the mystery plays, which were just some plays at first created and represented inside the church, and then they were represented and performed outside the church on pageants. So they were a sort of mobile stages going around the country. But the characters were static, so they were just a representation of vices and virtues or characters from the Bibles. What from the Bible? Why now in the Canterbury Tales, the description of the pilgrims emphasizes the clothes, the tools, the personal qualities, and the personality. So we've got a sort of historical document about the people of the time, about the jobs. The names given to the pilgrims refer to their professions, so we don't know the proper name of the nun, the merchant, the wife of Bath, etc. Themes. Well, the main theme is the journey, which is not only a real journey, a concrete journey on a horse, but it is also mainly a spiritual journey. So the pilgrimage is set in the calendar of seasons, so spring as a time of rebirth, and so the spiritual journey is supposed to be a sort of supernatural kind of restoration, from sins to purification.